Okay, so let's continue the discussion. So we talked about intrapersonal intelligence in the previous video clip. I want to continue the discussion by introducing to you another theoretical framework called Johari window, which is introduced and developed by two psychologists by the name of Dr. Joseph Luth and Harry Ingram. That was developed in the 1950s. Okay, just a quick rundown of what Johari window is. Johari window is this concept, this psychological concept that helps us understand aspects about ourselves that we know, as well as aspects of ourselves that we don't know. Okay, so this is the first square of the Johari window, and in this square, known as the open self, this is when you know about yourself. In this category, you know about yourself, and others also know about you. So, for instance, your height, your physical features, the way you speak, your accent, maybe your demographic, your background, your gender, aspects about you that people know. Okay. And then you've got the second component, which is aspects about yourself that are hidden from others. Things that you know about yourself, but things that others don't know about you. So these will be your secrets. Okay, these will be your secrets. So open self, I would say, these are the obvious aspects about you that everybody can tell and you know for yourself, right? Then there is the third component, which is known as the blind self. And this is the bit that connects to the issue of intrapersonal intelligence that we want to explore. So the blind self would be aspects about you that you don't know, but other people do. How is that? Think about that. Is there aspects about yourself that you don't know, but other people are more aware of it? Think about how you are in public, how you are, for instance, when you are in a crowd, how do you behave? When you are having to give a talk in front of a large group of people, how do you behave? How do you react? What's your responses? How do you manifest your anxiousness, your fear, your insecurities, your joy, right? Things that you don't observe about yourself, but other people can notice about you. So that's an aspect of your blind self. And then there is the fourth quarter, things about yourself that you don't know and other people don't either. Your subconscious mind, things that are in your subconscious mind. I'll just put subconscious here. So these are things in your subconscious mind, things that you dreamt about, things that you repress about your childhood, memories, various aspects about yourself. But for today's discussion, I want us to talk about this third component, the blind self. So obviously you know about yourself in the category of the open self and the hidden self, right? What you want to do is, beyond expanding this half of the Johari window, you want to try to broaden your own scope about yourself. You want to know more about yourself. You want to develop a level of self-awareness, an objective level of self-awareness that allows you a higher level of intrapersonal intelligence. In order to do that, you need to uncover this component, the blind self. Okay, so intrapersonal intelligence helps uncover the blind spots, and in understanding your blind self or blind spots, you understand your intrapersonal intelligence more. So it's a virtuous cycle. It helps each other out. Intrapersonal intelligence helps you clarify certain aspects of your blind self, And by knowing more about your blind self, you develop a higher level of intrapersonal intelligence. And I want to draw this, I want to use this particular clip from this science fiction novel called Dune by Frank Herbert to illustrate this aspect. This clip is taken from a particular scene, and if you want to see the movie adaptation, the 1984 movie adaptation, if I'm not mistaken, a movie. The 2001 movie adaptation is coming up soon. I forget the primary characters, I forget their names. Timothy something or other and Zendaya, I think that's the name. But the 1984 version, this particular clip that I'm going to talk about, you can see that in this YouTube link that I will share with you on your Telegram. So I'm just going to introduce the backstory before we go through the clip. The story is about this man by the name of Paul Atreides. He is a son of a duke who is the head of the house of Atreides. So Leto Atreides, the father, he is currently the leader or the head of the house of Atreides. And his son will one day rule the house of Atreides once the father has stepped down or he passed away. But in order for Paul to be ready to head the house of Atreides, he has to go through various trainings. You know, he goes through physical trainings, martial art, fights and all those kinds of things, using a weapon. But he also is tested for his psychological ability to withhold fear and pain. So in this particular clip, the person who tests him inflicts a pain, psychologically inflicts him with a pain. And he has to overcome the pain that he experiences in his mind. So it's like a mind game, right? The pain that he experiences in his mind, he has to overcome this. So if you think about it, this is a little bit like the negativity biases. A bit like the mind viruses that we talked about. Okay? How do you overcome mind viruses? We talked about this earlier when I say, one of the ways is for you to reframe whatever that's going on in your mind. You reframe it by asking yourself questions like, what have I learned from this experience? How can I do this better? But if you're going through a particular experience that is traumatic, that is agonizing, that's painful, that's difficult, that's challenging, what can you do at that moment? What can you do in the time that you are going through it? So in this, in Frank Herbert's Dune, he shows us what the character goes through, what Paul does to overcome the mind virus, the pain, the discomfort that he's subjected to. He does what we talked about in the first week, what I asked you to do in the first week, if you remember, which is to produce affirmations. Remember, I asked you to produce an affirmation about I am, right? And come up with a poster and then share them with your classmates in our Telegram group. So Paul uses affirmations to take control over his mind and to almost numb the pain that he is going through. So, and this pain is inflicted upon him in a form of a fear. He's inflicted with fear because he feels pain in his hand, and the pain gives him fear. He's afraid for his life. He's afraid for his hand. He's afraid that he will lose his hand because it feels as if his hand is on fire, is being burnt. This is the kind of mind game that is being tested upon him. So what he does is he uses affirmations to control his mind. So he says these affirmations. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. So this is like affirmations, telling yourself this again and again and again in order to take control of your mind. Okay? So if you think about it, so the way Paul deals with it is, number one, he doesn't know how he's going to respond to the pain. He doesn't know, his blind self doesn't realize, the blind spots in his mind doesn't realize whether he can cope with this fear or not. Is he going to be able to handle it? Is this going to consume him? Is this going to kill him? He doesn't know that. He knows his physical strength. He knows how good he is as a fighter. But he doesn't know how good he is in terms of overcoming fearful thoughts or overcoming pain, psychological, emotional pain. He doesn't know that, right? So he uses affirmations to take control of his mind. So this is one way that the story shows us how Paul, the character Paul, develops his intrapersonal intelligence. He doesn't run away from the experience. He faces it, but he keeps telling himself, I can do this. I can overcome this. Fear is just a mind killer. I'm not going to let it rule me, right? I'm not going to let fear rule me. Fear is just a mind killer. He just keeps telling himself this. I must not fear. I shouldn't be afraid, right? Fear is just a mind killer. I will face my fear. I'm not going to run away from it. So he's drawing strength from his own affirmations. He's drawing strength by telling himself these statements that helps him go through it, rather than telling himself negative things like, I can't do this, I'm afraid, I don't think I can do this, I don't think I'm good enough. He doesn't say those kinds of self-doubtful statements. Instead, he tells himself, he doesn't know how well he can cope, but he tells himself he can cope, right? He tells himself, I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, right? And I'm going to imagine that it's going to pass through me, and when it has, I'm going to be able to see that fear has gone, nothing is there except me. I will remain. So this is one way we learn from literature, we learn from stories, how characters in stories overcome negative experiences, overcome fearful thoughts, overcome doubtful thoughts, by developing an ability in themselves to encourage themselves to face the fear that they have using affirmations. All right. So for the discussion for this week, I want you to kind of explore this discussion a little bit by journaling on your negative experiences. Ask yourself questions like, what do you worry about? What do you ruminate over? What are the things that goes on in your mind again and again? It's like a broken record, just plays again and again and again. What things, what negative things do you think about over and over again? What negative thoughts linger in your mind constantly? I want you to reflect on that. And I want you to journal on this, okay? The journaling that I want you to do is two parts. Of course, you write down your negativity biases, and then you choose one of them and reframe the negative experiences or the negative statements that you made. Reframe them by asking yourself, What have I learned from this negative experience? What can I do better? Okay. So before we leave, I just want to leave you with a parting thought. Here's something that we should all aspire for, no matter what our situation is, no matter what our circumstance is. This is something I want you to think about. What is it that you hope for when you grow up, when you graduate, when you've left the university? What do you hope for? This is something that Charlie Brown asks Linus. What do you think what do you think you'd like to be when you grow up? And Linus answers it in a very simple fashion. I want to be outrageously happy. Not be a doctor, not be a professor, not be an engineer, not be an architect, not be, all those aspects, which is great aspirations to have, but that's just one role that you play in society, right? Your life is made up of more things than just the job that you hold or the passion for the job that you hold. Your job is to find a level of emotional security and stability that allows you to be joyful, to be happy all the time, no matter the situation. Whether you've got ups or downs, right? No matter the situation, whether you are enjoying life and you're facing joys, or you're facing challenges. No matter the situation, you want to try to reach a level of being happy and accepting and satisfied with your life. But in order to do that, you need to be able to control your emotional state, right? You need to have emotional intelligence. So this is something I want you to kind of think about. But in order to do that, that's something else we need to learn to do, which is we need to learn to be just grateful for everything that we have and we are going through. The ups and downs, they are making you a better person. All right? So e-task part 2 for this week is for you to write down 5 things every day, 5 new things every day that you are grateful for. Okay? So dig deep, think of the big things that you're grateful for, but also think of the small things, that you have things to eat, that you're healthy, you are able to pursue your education, that you have internet connection enough for you to be able to access the course content and do your assignments and tasks and be able to complete your programs, right? Your education is not stalled, all right? So I want you to kind of find things that you are grateful for on a daily basis, and then continue with class next week.